people, and welcome back to the book club with one mother, three sisters, and a whole lot of hot takes. This is the family plot. I'm Angel, the host and the heart of the crew, joined by our resident conspiracy theorist, my baby sister Cam. Say hey, Cam.
Hey.
And our matriarch and occasional voice of reason, our mother Lisa. Say hey, Mom.
Hey.
We are joined by Glenna, my sister-in-law, with the insightful takes. Say hey, girl.
Hello.
All right, so here's how we get down. Each month, we discuss a book of our choosing, and every week, I'll share a brief summary of the chapters we've read, and we each pick 2 discussion questions to answer. We'll also share our first impressions, predictions, and whatever else comes up along the way. So if any of that interests you, pull up a chair, pour some tea, and get cozy as we get right back into this month's book right here on the family plot, where every chapter digs deep. All right, y'all. So we are back with week 3 of Blood at the Roots by Ladarrion Williams. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready. So let's get on into it. Let me get our slides together. Week 3. Scrolling down to week 3. All right. Covering chapters 22 through 31. Let's get it. So Malik returns to Mama Aya's house and learns whispers of the Bakor's return. At a tense meeting with the powerful Khoisan tribe, Malik clashes with Empress Bonclair, who downplays the threat while the rival Deo tribe insists the Bakors are back. Damon Cartier, the leader of the Deo tribe, hints that Alexis has a place with them if she chooses. Malik also discovers Taryn's tragic family history, making him question the elite's priorities and methods. I did not include this on the summary, but Taryn's wife and child were both murdered. More on that later. Back on campus, Malik and Alexis reconcile, deepening their bond. Malik dreams vivid visions of his great-grandmother Miriam, the Scroll of Udon, and the roots of his magical lineage. His training with Kamale brings both reassurance and warnings, while a shadowy attack leaves Malik scared and shaken. Antoine Bivens reappears, revealing ties to Malik's mother and hints of a cover-up, but Taryn shuts him down. Malik learns his foster parents have been killed, prompting him and Mama Aya to return to Alabama. There, Malik confronts visions of his past, uncovers his mother's necklace, and pieces of a map to the Scroll of Udon. Malik faces off with the Bakors alongside Mama Aya. The battles deepen Malik's sense of purpose. With his mother's necklace in hand and haunting visions of her survival, he resolves to find her and the Scroll of Udon, even if it means risking everything. Kumale, meanwhile, seems increasingly distracted by Malik's talk of the map, hinting at a hidden connection of his own. Baby, it is time for first impressions. Any takers? Anybody want to go first? Anybody at all? Cam, you got it. Go for it.
The Bonclair family ain't shit.
Do expound, please.
I had a very big issue with the fact that there was this meeting called to discuss the return of the Bakors, and Empress Bonclair and all her infinite bitchiness tried to downplay it like it wasn't a serious issue. And then here Malik go. First of all, she need to watch her tone when she's talking to my man Malik. Period, point blank. She need to watch herself, because I wasn't messing with it at all. But then for him to go have a conversation with another adult, plus Empress Bonclair's own son, their good chancellor, just to find out that they was downplaying it and the Bakors really are back and they're behind all these disappearances and all of these murders. Well, excuse you me, because I need some answers. What we not finna do is just sit here and act like the people don't deserve to know what's going on. Because it's not just the magical people at stake. Like he said, they didn't kill his foster people. And no, they couldn't stand that man. They liked the woman. They liked Miss Sonia. So him and Tay was kind of messed up about that. And I was not a fan of how the Kwasan tribe was handling the conversation around the Bakors in general. But I really wasn't. First of all, let's not quiet Malik. He is an adult, basically, and he's human, and everybody deserves the right to speak their mind at any point. It's a human right. It's a constitutional right, book or no book. The fact that they were trying to silence him was not a fan of. I don't care who his mama, his daddy, his grandma, his great auntie 2 times removed. I don't care. He deserved the right to speak his mind. And the fact that Empress Von Claire was being such a grade A biatch to him, it was giving Mean Girls. And I didn't like it. So wasn't a fan of that. Then we got to the face off with the Bakors, and I honestly was surprised. I truly did not believe we would get an interaction with the Bakors until later, like in this last section of the book. Because usually when we have like some action-packed stuff, like in Legendborn or Kingdom of the Curse, like the big action usually doesn't happen till a little closer to the end of the book. So I was very surprised that they had the interaction at this juncture. But I think where we stopped at is probably the first time where I was content where we stopped at and wasn't like, no, wait, hold on. Now I got some theories about some things. You know, that's my thing.
Do you want to save your theories for when some of the questions come up, or do you want to?
Well, I didn't get to look at the questions for this week.
Okay.
So I don't know if it'll be discussed, but the one theory that's like really strong in the top of my head right now is about the professor's brother.
Okay.
Are any of the questions related to that? Do you know?
Vaguely, but
because I could share it now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the professor's brother might have been one of those 5 people. Because they didn't say when it happened.
True.
So we had 5 people and only 3 died, and they were all unidentified. So I'm wondering, because that's the only death anniversary of any kind at this point, unless I missed something that's referred to.
No, you.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Yeah, I like that. Glenna, you had something you want to add?
The Chancellor's wife and son were killed about the same time as his mom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there were 3 bodies. And we've got some missing people.
There you go.
So, in theory, the professor's brother could be one. The chancellor's wife could be another.
Oh, I have theories, but I'm a hold for now.
Yeah,
there's too many people dying.
There's a lot of people dying. It's crazy. It's crazy amount. It's a lot to keep up with. But that being said, I liked where we stopped in relation to event placement in the book. I felt like this is a good juncture to pause at. But yeah, the only other thing that had my jaw on the floor was his vision of great grandmama and the scrolls of he died. I was like, oh, so we might be finding out where it's at. That's what it's giving, and I'm here for it. Big T. Mm-hmm.
So for the audience and for anyone who has not read the book, great grandmama Miriam was on the run from some white folks doing some slave catcher stuff, and she unleashed some powerful magic that manifested as these big old werecats, like think Twilight and them big old werewolf type creatures, and they ripped them white folks to shreds. And it was really, really powerful to read. Um, my own personal thoughts. I hope we get to see something like that again in upcoming battles with Bakurs or whoever else. So there's that.
So with that, I yield.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful assessment. Who want to go next? First impressions, Mom, Glenna, Mom. Okay, go ahead.
As wonderful as this read is, and engaging, it's very engaging with a lot of details and a lot of room for speculation and questions and all that. I'm just gonna keep it brief. Where we stopped at before, or where we started, was where Malik, because he was bound to being on campus, and Chancellor put out that boundary spell to keep everybody on campus because despite what his mama is saying and doing, he's like, I gotta protect these kids. I gotta protect these young adults on this campus. So he was like, everybody's on lockdown, and he put out a boundary spell. But because Malik got that message from Tay on that cell phone, he said, bump this. I'm going to help my brother. And he finds a way to break the Chancellor's boundary spell without him getting in trouble. To get home to find that police cruiser and freak their brother all the way out. But I like how that police cruiser wasn't there in regards to Tay. It was in regards to those missing children. But when it comes to my first impression of the rest of that, I just overall, I love how Malik's sense of purpose shows that even in the midst of his struggle, he is willing to offer a part of himself that he himself never received. And some wise woman once told me that when she was upset with her mother because she felt like her mother did not give her everything she needed, it was because it was she realized growing up as a woman that her mother didn't have those things to give. And so you cannot pour from an empty vessel. So when I saw Malik is out here giving the very thing he did not have, it reminded me of that conversation I had with that young woman years ago. Sometimes you strive to give what you were in need of and were lacking because you understand the need. And in this case, Malik understood the need to feel protected, which is why he broke the boundary spell. When he and Mama Aya went back to after his foster parents got killed and they went back to his hometown, he saw that little boy and saw the Bakurs were coming after him, and he immediately felt the need to protect that little boy because he saw himself in that little boy, and he knew what it felt like not to have protection or have anybody to protect him. And it just reminded me on a different level how sometimes we give of ourselves what we never had in efforts to help somebody else who struggled, so they didn't have to struggle like we struggle. And I saw that just touched me in a way because, like, in essence, he covered Tay when they went into the foster system for the very same reason. Tay was scared, and Tay had no magic. But the fact that Tay caught him doing his magic gave that baby comfort, something Malik again did not have after his mom passed. So it shows another part of the human spirit that it really touched me in this section of the reading, that despite everything this boy is going through, he's still trying to give and cover somebody in ways that he was lacking in himself. Things that he did not get, he was still trying to offer that to somebody else. So that just touched on the human spirit part to me, and I was really appreciative to see that. And it opened my eyes to that conversation I had with that young woman some years ago. So with that, I yield.
Thank you for that, Mother. Glenna, first impressions, ma'am.
Um, most of my thoughts through here have been pretty much similar to everyone else's. I agree with Cam's thoughts on seeing the Bakors a little earlier than I would have expected to. I thought we would have learned a little more through him perusing the book and learning things before we actually had an encounter. And that interaction was very interesting. And I think his response to his former foster parents' death was very measured and appropriate. Because, he showed some remorse even for the man who was horrible to him, because there's a difference between wanting to do harm to somebody who's harming directly somebody that you love, but it's different when they're, unalived and cold calculation or offhand. So I think that was very telling of his character. Made me like him even more. I definitely think that my opinion of the Chancellor is changing. While he still remains very harsh in his way he speaks to Malik, he is very you're starting to see the fact that he actually cares. And you're seeing his compassion and empathy, because he's like, I understand that you're here, but you really are safer on campus. And even the kind of lockdown that he put him under personally, even though it apparently didn't do anything, um, was very telling. And they mentioned that he and his mom were friends. Well, it kind of makes sense, because the way he's kind of, while being hard on Malik, he's also very protective of Malik. And I think that's showing an empathy that I didn't see in previous chapters. And I liked seeing it. Yes, Lisa?
Not only do I agree with you in that, but I really feel like even though he may or may not be that boy's father, I feel like the reason we're seeing the compassion right now is because he recognizes they're a real threat. And I think he was one of them three people. And when his mother disappeared, one of the two people that survived his mother's. When his mother disappeared, because it was 5 of them there. I think he was one of them. And he genuinely doesn't want to see Malik go off for whatever reason. He don't want to see her fall. He don't want to see him fall into whatever his mama fell into. And with that, I yield.
All very
Cam?
great points, ladies. I see Cam. You want to respond to Glenna?
I got a theory and a question. We know that Chancellor's wife and son died, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Do we know if he has memory of said wife and son?
If who has memory of them, Malik or Chancellor Taryn?
Chancellor Taryn.
I'm sure he does have memory. Why would he not remember his wife and son?
Because if he was one of those 3 people, that was a catastrophic event. He could have gone into some mental shock. But where I'm going with this is, could it be possible that his wife and son is Malik and his mom? And he
No,
just don't remember Malik.
they were in the picture.
Okay.
There was a picture of him and his wife, and if my memory serves me correctly, and I don't think I would be able to find it easily, if I remember correctly, in one of the times where he was kind of moseying around the Chancellor's office, there was the same picture on his desk.
Okay.
And while I don't know the specifics, another theory that I have on the Chancellor's wife and son is perhaps a similar situation to what we're seeing now with the Bokors in large. They're stealing people's magic. Excuse me. What if the infant was showing signs of magic very young, and the reason his wife and son are dead is because they sacrificed the son and the wife in order to take their magic?
An interesting theory. Okay.
And the timeline just happens to coincide with um with the Malik and his mom situation. And my other thought to that process was, what if they had finished with the chancellor's wife and son and were coming after Malik for his magic?
Man, okay. I always love y'all theories. I really love when you just kind of let your mind run with it, given what the information that we do have, because it's all plausible, man.
Because the time,
Glenna,
Sorry.
I concur.
that makes Empress Bonclair even more of a biatch. Because if they up and killed your daughter-in-law and your grandson, and you trying to hide the fact that they back, no ma'am.
denial. Classic denial.
I'm
in
on
that
the
regard.
biatch tip with Cam on that one, because let's be real. I'm pretty sure the Bokors went after his son. I don't know nothing about his wife, but the fact that we know his son had magic and they killing youth for the magic, yeah, I'm pretty sure they took his magic. But the fact that your grandmama know and she still didn't deny her, she's on that biatch level that Cammy talking about. And I hate to say that word, but I understand.
Are we yielding the floor?
We're yielding.
Thank you, Glenna. Thank you. It's hearing my mother say biatch with such vitriol. It's doing it for me. Okay, y'all. My first impressions. Empress Montclair is who I feel like people try to make me out to be when they don't agree with me. What I mean by that is Empress Montclair is very bougie. She's very elitist. She's very much no nonsense in the terms of like boundaries in her own house. She don't accept certain language. She just don't take a whole lot of stuff that she doesn't find acceptable. And I feel like sometimes in my personal life, people like to cast me in that light, even though I don't subscribe to anything elitist in my mentality. So on some level, I feel like I can kind of see bits and pieces of myself in Empress Montclair, but I cannot align with her ideologies. So there's that. For all intents and purposes, yes, Empress is definitely in the biatch file. But I also can see why people would think similarly of me. Next point. The Dayo tribe, I really enjoyed how they were described as, being a little more eclectically dressed with completely white eyes. Like it definitely gave, it reminded me of the cover of Children of Blood and Bone, which Cam, I believe yes, it gave, it gave that. And I would love to see more of them either in this book or in the next book, because much like Alexis, or at least it seems, they are for helping people. And if not helping people, then they're fundamentally opposed to everything Empress Montclair stands for, which is that type of elitism that we were talking about. I thought it was interesting that Antoine Bivens became a police officer, and that there was so much about his journey veering off from the magical land. I'm glad they addressed his relationship with Malik's mother, and that she befriended him when he was considered, I guess, how the Harry Potter world would consider a half-blood. He was cast aside for those reasons and not treated very well when he was in school. But Lorraine, Malik's mother, befriended him. And I thought that was really cool to read, but also it made sense to me why Antoine would return to try to forewarn Malik, or at least try to give him some sort of aid. I thought it was really interesting, though, that Malik was so resistant to his assistance because he was a police officer. And that made even more sense to me because coming from a troubled past, Malik has had some run-ins with the law. So he does not trust people in general, but he also definitely does not trust police. And so it's very difficult for him in this part of the book to see Antoine as trustworthy despite his relationship with his mother. Really, really great to read how the author like put all that together for them in that interaction. I was very annoyed at Taryn for interrupting their interaction with more of the BS of what you doing here, you need to be on campus, blah, 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 all the secrets, all the lies, blah, blah, blah. Like, but what I did notice between both men is that they were both trying to protect Malik. They were just doing it in a way that unfortunately is fundamentally opposed, and it all played out in front of him, and Malik still is at the center of this, having no answers. So I was just annoyed with their whole resurfacing of beef, or whatever you want to call it, while also trying to protect this child at the same time. I really loved reading about the battle scene with Mama Aya and Malik working together. That for me gave very much Harry Potter and Dumbledore in the cave, where they had to go get that one Horcrux, and then they had to like try to battle all them little dead souls and try to get them out of that cave. Like it was very much that. The thing I do not enjoy about that, though, is that I feel like, and it's just my pattern observation I've been seeing in a lot of movies and a lot of books, when we build up certain attachments to certain characters, they are somehow snatched from us. And there has been a lot of allusion to Mama Aya's age and her ability starting to dwindle. So I don't really like that we got this really good bonding moment with Mama Aya finally, where him trusting her and they working together, because I feel like he's telling us something's about to happen with her. But I could be wrong. Mama Aya could be in the second book. I hope so. I feel like Malik's dreams are definitely giving us more information and more insight. His dream about Miriam, I thought that song was real cute. As I was listening to it on the audiobook, I was like, oh, this is so cute. It's giving like, you know, old time slave hymnal type energy. And I really, really resonated with that. I really, really like that song. I hope that we hear something similar in later chapters. Or I hope that the song is important to us in later chapters, I should say. Because I just thought it was a really cool flashback moment. As far as his dreams of his mother, it's raised questions for me about just how deep into Bane magic was his mom. Are we talking deep as in trying to, still on this vein of trying to use Bane magic to help people? Or has she gotten in so deep that she doing some Voldemort type evil? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you so gone that nobody can get to you? How deep are you, ma'am, into whatever you're doing? Are you still doing it? Are like what? I don't know. I have a lot of questions about her evilness at this point after seeing or after reading his dreams about her. And it does make me wonder, is her evilness, is she trying to communicate with him through these dreams? Or is it a trick by the Bakors to try to get him to think certain things about his mother? I don't know. It's a lot. Last and not least, I'm side-eyeing Kumale, because his training of him, like I get Malik was feeling like he's singling him out after Dorm Wars, like he was mad at him or something like that. And so he felt like he was riding him a little harder in training. But I don't know if that's it, because up until Dorm Wars, Kumale has been a little too excited to see Malik's abilities. And on top of that, that as a mentor, I feel like it's cool to like support your mentee. But I wonder if Kumala has a different interest, like for a different reason. And then I wonder what had Kumale so distracted at the end of these chapters. Because I don't think it was just the death of his brother that got him trailing off. He seemed very preoccupied for other reasons. I don't really have no theories about why, but it's got me looking at him like, you was a little too excited to step in and be mentor. You was a little too excited about him dang near burning the classroom down. You was a little too excited about about a lot of things. So for what reason? And I hope we find out at the end of this book and not have to wait till the next book to see what that is. Yes, Glenna, you got a question?
Just to add on to the confusion with that, with the professor, his kind of downtroddenness kind of hits a little more sus when you pair it with, because we only know what he said. So he stated that he was down that day and distracted because of the anniversary of his brother's death. Whether that literal day was that or not, we don't know. But it's a little sus to me that he suddenly kind of down from this right after they pull whatever was pulling the magic off of him off Malik. So was he truly sad because it's the anniversary of his brother's death? Or was he sad because he's working with the people and what they were using to pull his magic didn't work?
You know it. And also, now that I think about it, he's mentioned his brother before in talking about in talking to Malik, because at some point I want to say it was like week 1 where Kumali was like, oh, you remind me a lot of my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear about his brother again, it got my wheels churning.
Or another food for thought, because he said it was the anniversary of his brother's death. We can't assume that all of the people that attacked Malik and his grandmother survived the attack. What if his brother was one of those killed during that just occurred? Because he did mention, oh, I didn't, in all the times you've talked about your brother, I didn't realize he was dead.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to go back and search, but I didn't have enough time tonight, and see whether when he was talking about his brother in previous chapters, whether he was talking about him in present tense or past tense, because I wasn't paying attention. Because he says, you remind me of my brother, but I don't remember when he was talking about him, whether he used present tense or past tense.
He did not use past tense. That's why my side eye, my spidey senses are tingling now, because it's like, why now are you mentioning that he's dead? Because I think we're going to need that information very soon.
Because people who refer to family members who've passed, when I talk about my father, it's he was, he did, not he is and he has.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Grammar's not my thing, but present tense and past tense, I don't remember. I honestly don't. And my memory kind of is touching on it. It might have been present tense when he was talking about him in the past, but I got to search it because I don't remember.
That's okay. Pam, I see you have a hand raised.
This is making a lot of sense because this is right after the fight with the Bakors and everything. And when Malik asked him, how did your brother die? He said, oh, well, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, I don't know. It might just be me, But getting in a fight with the woman who took y'all down to begin with would probably be the wrong time to be in a fight and the wrong place to be in a fight.
Are we theorizing that Kumale's brother was a Bakor who
We are.
just recently got taken out? And
We are.
hey, it's a possibility. All I'm saying is, if that's the case, whatever the case surrounding his brother's death would definitely be a good motive for some sinister shit on Kumale's end.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel sinistery energy just because of how excited he was to see his abilities. Like it's giving exploitive, but I'm not sure how yet.
And it's because you said that I said that makes so much sense, because he's been, like, I agree, like he was very into Malik when he started at KMU. And then when Malik got in that fight with Danye, Malik was the one being pushed, not Danye. And now all of a sudden, despite all the conversations we've had about said brother, all of a sudden, we just real down and out sad, moping around campus about this man. What has happened in the last 24 hours that all of a sudden we got an issue? You know what happened in 24 hours? Malik and Mama Aya got in a fight with Upper Course.
And with that, I'm gonna answer Mama's question. Yes, Mom.
I'm gonna just say this, because you said a lot of stuff, Angel. But in regards to that, as suspect as the mentor is and how he's been behaving, I honestly believe, because I still don't know. I know we had the speculation about what's the baby that don't like Malik,
Danye.
about him and why he don't like him. I feel like whatever his beef is with Malik, I think somehow it may be aligning with whatever the scheme is with his mentor. And I think his mentor may have put him up to that attack in the game wars just to see how Malik would respond so he could get a view. Because you're right, his mentor is real suspect. And he, talking about his brother and how he's doing that. And I really feel if his brother is not a Bakor, like when he said he was in the wrong place, wrong time, he may have gotten ousted in the crossfire, and he may have something against Mama Aya, which is why when Malik came on the scene, he was like, oh yeah, let me get back at her. You know what I'm saying? So if his brother is not a Bakor, it would stand to reason, because he made that comment, wrong place, wrong time, meaning he got wound up in the crossfire, and he's mad because Mama Aya was one of the primary sources of that battle, if that makes sense. But I think because whatever that boy got against him, he used him. He may have used him to egg on and to antagonize the situation just to see what Malik's powers would be like in the bit of anger. And in further to help his cause against, and so he could use Malik to go against Mama Aya, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I'm glad y'all brought up Danye, because I just had a theory. I wonder if Danye's beef with Malik has something to do with his dead parents.
I think it probably does, because why else would you be mad at, and not that Malik himself had anything to do with it, but you mad because the people that's connected to Malik may have had something to do with your parents' death, like this mentor's brother and all of that. He could be mad at him, guilty by association kind of situation that Malik ain't even aware of.
Yeah,
Because he don't know his people. He's just learning his people, just like, but y'all done had history to know, but Malik don't know. So he's walking into this a guinea pig and just don't know. But I believe that's why I believe, and as far as his mama is concerned, is he learning all this stuff? I feel like his mama is either partnering with the McCoys, which I think she might be partnering with them, which is why the chancellor is so dead set against him finding out about what she learned in the Bane magic. Because I still believe he was one of the two that survived that situation with his mama. And then he saw what, and I really believe, because we all know she was writing them letters about, I need your help with this. And he was like, girl, no, here, you finna get in trouble. I think that was all the chancellor. I ain't gonna lie.
Mhm.
I figure that's all him. But because he saw through his mama what being in Bane magic could do, he's trying to keep, and like you say, the Bakuls probably had something to do with his wife and his sons there. I think he's trying to keep Malik away from that because he saw how damaging it was to to his friend, who the woman he was in love with first. Because I still feel like, ain't nobody said it, but I feel like if it don't come out in this book, we gonna find out who that boy's daddy is. And I really think, I'm just saying, I don't know.
You think, Taryn, you are the father? I
really think,
hope,
and I really feel like that's part of the reason his magic is that much more powerful to be unused at this point. Why would you have this level of magic if you ain't got double the portion? Because you got a mama and a dad. That's why I think Taryn has to be that one that be like, yeah, because they was booze, and I'm sure booze was tapping. And she went home.
Were they? I know they were friends, like the three of them, Antoine, Taryn, and Lorraine. They were friends. We do know
they
that.
were friends. But do we not know how a threesome of friends are, where there's at least one woman and one man involved, that somebody gets tapped?
It sounds real personal, ma'am.
It really does.
Okay.
Are we ready for discussion questions?
We can discuss questions. I'm just saying.
Got real personal up in here.
Okay, guys.
But I'm saying I've seen it happen.
Technically, we all have, because Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Hello.
That's a friend group for a romance.
That threesome, that triangle, always somebody end up tapping that boy or that.
The Summer I Turned Pretty just had the finale, and that was a love triangle for 3 seasons, and that was a girl and 2 brothers.
Hello, so somebody getting tapped. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so there is a possibility that within the friend group that Taryn and Lorraine, or even Antoine and Lorraine, were somebody
got tapped. I think it's Taryn, because this boy got a whole level of magic just a half breeder wouldn't been able to give him. I'm just saying. Plus, he got Mama Aya bloodline. Come on now, he got some extra.
Yes, but he's also super overprotective of just him.
Thank you for the magical Punnett Squares, Mom. Okay. Appreciate it. All right. Questions for tonight. We have truth or trickery, the Dayo tribe, elites versus grassroots, generational divides, truth and trust, heritage and power, love and loyalty, and Kumale's connection. Glenna, why don't you go first?
Truth or trickery?
Truth or trickery. Malik's dreams show him his great-grandmother Miriam, the Scroll of Udon, and even his mother calling for him. Do you believe these visions are trustworthy guidance, or could they be manipulations by enemies?
I think, given that he was having these before he was on campus, because he was having them at Mama Aya's house, that they're truth. I don't think they're trickery. I think they're him visually interacting with his history or the history of the area. Because when he was walking through his old foster home and was literally seeing how they were all killed, it was he turned and spoke with his grandmother, it was it was as if she had done it as well, and it seemed legit. And also when he talked to her about the dream of seeing her when she was younger, and he kind of described it sort of, or started to, and she went, yeah, she kind of gave the impression that she, remembered what he was seeing. So I think they're truth. I think the one that scared him a little more, I think she tried to downplay it so as not to scare him, because while she's his grandmother, so she wants to protect him. But I think she recognizes the danger that these represent. And I think by downplaying it, she's trying to hold him back from discussing him with other people so that he doesn't put himself in more danger by saying, hey, I'm seeing these things. So, but yeah, I think they're guidance at this point, because every vision, including the ones he had right before the attack with the Bakors, have all been either memories of something that happened in the area or lessons that needed to be learned.
I can agree to that, especially him being on the grounds of Mama Aya's house. I think there was something specific about one of the shacks there on the property. So yeah, I can see that all being tied together. Yeah. Good insights, Glenda.
Thank you. And with that, I yield.
Anybody else want to respond or add anything to that before we move on? Nope. Okay. Mom, you're eating right now. So Cam, what would be your first question of the night, ma'am?
A generational divide.
Generational divides.
Like you wanted that question. Did you want that question?
Who? Me?
You had a look on her face.
Oh no, she's just in her noodles, girl. Okay. Empress Montclair accuses Malik's generation and Alexis of being reckless, while Malik accuses hers of being too complacent. How do you see this tension playing out in real world activism?
That's every day. Literally every day. In the real world. If you got the older people talking about some, well, nah, you don't need to do that. Back in my day, we did it this way and we did it this way. And what does woke mean? And you got all these movements for everything when we was just trying to fight for a seat on the bus and all the things. But Alexis ain't wrong. And to be honest, well, they're complacent now, but his generation was reckless back then. Because Malik's mama is in his generation. They were friends. They were part of the big three. And they were doing a whole bunch of reckless stuff to the point where one of the two of them, either him or Antoine, was passing notes back and forth about how this girl want to do main magic. Like that's a reckless thing to do. And you're only complacent now because you experienced the danger back then. It's the same with older people. You had freedom riders, you had, people who survived bombings, people who survived being hosed, people who marched and protested. You got all of those people, and they experienced the physical harm and danger of what it meant to be an activist back then. And then now we have people doing the same thing in a different way that's still resulting in the same amount of violence, just in a different form. So it's the same thing. Like, people from back then would now say we're being extremely reckless while they're sitting at home watching us be reckless. But in hindsight, they did the same thing, just in a different font. And with that, I yield. Mama, go ahead.
Yes, I see, Mom, you had a hand raised.
What you said, in the end, every generation, once you hit 20 years past whatever the generation is, those seniors who are now your elders are going to view whatever you're doing as reckless because it's not something they would have done. And a lot of times they discount that what the current generation is experiencing is a different level of impoverishedness, a different level of bigotry, a different level of racism, sexism, all of these different isms that come about, which cause people to have to react and respond for just some general basic rights. What the Constitution really was, it was Constitution Day yesterday. Don't get me started. But just what no, that was today. So just what it was really meant for. Each generation has to fight for their level of rights because somebody in every generation wants to hold people separate from their inalienable rights. And that's not okay. So yeah, you have a different level of rights. And guess what? We didn't have technology back 40 years ago. So all they did was picket, all they did was post a board and wooden sign with wooden sticks. Whereas now you have people who are doing more and more radical things because we have more to work with to get the point across. So it is all that you're always going to have that when you have a group of individuals that is oppressed by whatever means, you're going to have someone who radically stands up to fight against that form of oppression. And the generation, the people that are 40 years older than that generation are going to look at that as being radical, and they're going to be sentenced to being complacent because they themselves are not active anymore because they have already fought and participated in their level of freedom march to acquire what they acquired. But now we're on a different plane of that. Go ahead, Angelita.
This y'all's responses to this question remind me of a movie called The Butler by Lee Daniels, and what's the name? Forrest Whitaker was playing a butler in the White House, and it was more than just his career as a butler, but there was a very real conflict throughout the entire movie between him and his elder son, because his elder son was on the activism side fighting for civil rights at the time. And as a butler, his stance, having come from being a slave and having his father killed in front of him, his whole thing was, in order to survive, you have to change things from the inside. So he really did not understand his son's affinity for activism and trying to go against the status quo, because everything he knew about surviving meant to follow the status quo, literally. So when I'm hearing y'all talk about it, it is just a reminder that yes, every generation is going to have, or at least the elder generation is going to be critical of the newer generation, because the circumstances are always going to be different. Whereas there are a little bit more opportunities or a little bit less barriers in some areas, the people who did have those barriers are not going to understand why detaching from that status quo is necessary and even possible. For some people, they're literally just guided by their fear. So, I mean, in cases like what we're seeing with Empress Bonclair, I don't think it's so much fear as just a difference in ideology and a difference in values here. But I think the psychology is still the same, as in I look down on or discredit the future generations, because that's just what we see in Sociology 101 every day now today. Even to the point of where baby boomers are like, I don't understand why this generation ain't buying jobs or having babies. And well, it's a very different economy than it was in that time, right? Or even fat versus skinny people. Skinny people be like, well, I don't understand why I don't just work out and eat healthy. Well, there's a very different set of circumstances that may prevent someone from losing weight. And they're all very layered in similar ways of what we're talking here about fighting for social justice and fighting against systemic oppression. It's layered. And your experience is not the same from generation to generation because of those layers. Good stuff, y'all. Good stuff. That's all I got response to you, Cam. Anybody else got anything to say? Are we yielding? Okay. Mother, what will be your first question of the night? Come on off mute, girl.
Heritage and power.
Heritage and power. Okay. Malik's visions of Miriam reveal both resilience and violence in the use of magic. Does this complicate the line between defense and destruction? How does his ancestral legacy complicate his choices moving forward?
Ooh. Does it complicate? Let's first with the first one. Does it complicate the line between defense and destruction? I would say yes. And yes, because he has the ability, but he does not know how to completely harness it. So, and how to effectively utilize all of it. He's still in the learning process. So, yes, even though his emotions and anger will help utilize his power will be utilized in defense mechanism. Until he horns all his skills, he does not know the true level of destruction based on the gas station incident. Bro didn't know his powers were that intense. Not the gas station incident, but the incident with his ex foster father. He didn't know he had them kind of powers, and it could do all of what it could do. And he's still, even though he's learning, he hasn't learned everything. So it can complicate his ability to defend, because he could go over and beyond defense and ended up hurting someone he loves. So it can be a complication, but thank goodness he's in the process of honing in his skills and learning how to truly effectively utilize them. How does his ancestral legacy complicate his choices moving forward? I don't think it's as much of a complication as an awakening. Understanding that, well, it could be both. He's awakened by the fact that the very thing his mama was looking for, he understands it's in his bloodline. And in terms of complication of his choices, is making his choices a little more dangerous for him, I believe, because he, like his mother, is on a spiraling quest to find this scroll. And we know she was all into the Bane magic trying to find it. And he feels, even though I don't think he's decided at this point that he needs to learn the Bane magic to get to it, but he's in the frame of mind she was, in terms of, I need to get to this scroll, because if I get to this scroll or find out how to get to it, I can find my mama. And he does not understand the repercussions around what happened to his mother and her use of Bane magic, and how her quest for the scroll played into that. So he doesn't really know if he's opening up a can of worms that's going to be detrimental to him. He's just still passionate about finding his mom. So yes, that does complicate the line. It does complicate things for him. And hopefully, just hopefully, he does not put himself in a position where if and when he does find out how to secure this scroll, is at the hands of a level of magic that will cause him harm. With that, I yield.
Okay, mother. Okay. Come on with it. Come on with it. Any responses, questions to this, ladies? Okay. Alrighty. Um, let's see. My first question of the night. I'm gonna do this one: elite versus grassroots. Okay. Malik criticizes the Khoisan elites for enjoying luxury while ignoring suffering, while Empress Bonclair emphasizes strategy over recklessness. Which side feels more justified to you and why? First of all, can we talk about the description of that party? Because it was given very much MTV Cribs. Like they talking about, like they got champagne over here, they got a grand piano over there, hors d'oeuvres going in and out the room. Um, I felt bougie just reading it. So it really set the stage for this question. And so as I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, given my personal life experience, I feel like with whichever side is justified depends on your personal experience. And I say that because on one hand, Malik's critique feels justified because he's speaking from his lived experience, right? So he grew up in the hood. He saw his community suffer. He saw danger ignored. And from that lens, the Khoisan elite's wealth and comfort and extravagance can feel like indifference while other people are literally hurting and struggling. So his frustration echoes a real world critique of privileged leaders who just seem out of touch with the struggle of other Black folk or other grassroots struggles. But on the other hand, Empress Montclair and Taryn, for that matter, emphasize strategy because they talk a lot about what it means to be reckless. And strategy isn't without merit. She's trying to preserve, I believe, she's not just trying to preserve her own family's position, but the survival of the entire magical community. So her warning about being reckless is highlighting that drawing too much attention could expose everybody to a bigger danger. So then the question becomes, is cautious strategy actually what's protecting people, or is it an excuse to maintain comfort and power? And I think your lived experience will inform your lens to answer that question. I personally sympathize with Malik because that is my life experience. We've grown up in some very socioeconomically disadvantaged places. So I can't speak from the lens of Empress Bonclair to say, oh, well, we must strategize as I sip on my champagne. I can't live like that. I can't see it like that. That's just not my experience. But I understand how others might acknowledge that caution as a painful necessity. So it's kind of hard to say which is more justified. I think really for questions like this, we all got to answer the challenge to find a balance, right? How do we act quickly without acting recklessly? How do we plan strategically without slipping into apathy or just being worried about preserving ourselves? And with that, I yield. Anybody? No? Okay. Lena, circling back around the second time around. What would your second question of the night be, ma'am? Come off mute.
What, you can't just imply what I thought?
No,
Love and loyalty.
privilege, you know. No. I have to be strategic, darling. I have to be Empress of Tall. I'm just playing. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Love and loyalty.
Love and loyalty. Malik and Alexis reconcile and begin to fall in love, even as their paths with different factions may pull them apart. Do you think their bond will strengthen or weaken or threaten Malik's mission?
Well, given how their previous kind of fight was going, I wasn't sure they would reconcile. But I'm kind of glad they came to common ground. And I think it was a smart decision to play the let's get to know each other first card, because they both have had quite a few changes in their lives and they're both definitely in different areas. And I think it's a smart decision to make. I don't know whether it's going to strengthen or tear them apart. I think the next few things that occur as the school year ends and the new one begins, and what's going to happen during that break, I think will determine whether they are for the long haul or whether they're just a temporary fascination. Because they're kind of in that stage of they have a lot of history. So there's potential for attachment based on that alone, but that isn't enough to make a successful relationship. So I don't know if that's going to sustain them, depending, because we don't truly know. We've seen snippets of her belief system. We know a little bit about where he's coming from personally. We don't know how aligned or misaligned their belief systems truly are, because they're still practically strangers. So all they have right now is a shared history and attraction. And while that is promising for a future, it doesn't guarantee one. And I think the let's take a step back and meet each other again that they kind of did on that rooftop was a smart path to take. The problem in situations that they're going into is that people who meet or have a shared experience of trauma tend to create very unhealthy attachments to people who share those experiences. And my question is that's what's developing or will develop here as things become more tumultuous? That was totally the wrong pronunciation of that word, but we're going to go with it. Gotta love brain fog sometimes.
Is it
Um,
tumultuous? Is that the word?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I got close. I think where things are going to lie as far as their potential relationship success will be where they're at after all this settles. Because heightened emotions and the fact that there's fear present doesn't bode well for the development of a sustainable relationship. The thing that might get them through is their shared history. But they really do need to sit down and have what I would refer to as an alignment talk. Here's what I believe, here's what you believe. This is my these are my full stops, these are your full stops. Where are my boundaries? Where are my hard stops? Where are my no's? Where are my deal breakers? But they're also kids, so I doubt they're going to have the, emotional intelligence to sit down and have that conversation, even though they really should. But you never know. Books have surprised me before, so who knows? But at this point, given what they're dealing with, right now they're in lust. and maybe a little bit alike. And that's about it. And whether that progresses or not will depend on what happens in the next several chapters and whether or not their previous friendship can develop into anything more than just a passing, I think you're pretty. And with that, I yield.
Yes. Wonderful insights. Gonna to add to that, um, I don't like it. I don't like their love story. I don't. I don't like them for each other right now. Um, because although they have not had that talk about where their values are right now, I feel like people grow and people change over time. And there's been a lot of trauma bonding because it's a hell of a drug, and a lot of change has happened for them both as individuals. So even if they did have a conversation to find common ground, I really do feel like the pros would not outweigh the cons of where they are right now. That's not to say they can't grow together moving forward, but right now I don't like it. It's too many loose ends. That boy ain't found his mama. That boy got Tay. She over here, torturing dead people. Like, it's a lot going on. So I don't like them for each other right now. But that's not to say that they cannot grow together moving forward. The shared history and attraction, I agree, is not enough to sustain them. And I say that as someone who was previously married, where those two things were the main glue that held that marriage together until it didn't. So, wonderful assessments. Mother, I see you have a hand raised. Go ahead.
Tag me in. Janet said it best. Let's wait a while. Before it's too late, let's wait a while. Our love could be great, let's wait a while. Before we go too far. So here's my take on that. All of what you said is true. But for me, because I still believe, and I could be wrong, that Taryn and his mama had a thing. And it felt like to me that this is Taryn and his mama all over again. With her breaking off into this bang magic, he's like, what is the heck is you doing? Da, 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 da. I felt that's the vibe I got. So with that, yeah, Janet said it best. Before we go too far. Okay, I'm sorry. And then with that, I yield.
Any other questions or responses to Glenna, ladies, before we move forward? No? Okay. Cam, what would be your second question of the evening, ma'am?
What's left?
We have the Deo Tribe. We have Truth and Trust and Kumale's Connection.
Kumale's Connection.
Kumale's Connection. Kumale grows unsettled when Malik mentions the map connected to his mother. Do you think Kumale is hiding something, or is his reaction just grief resurfacing?
Oh, he had. Hold
on, you cut out. Say that again.
He had something for sure. It ain't no question. He's become real secretive. Started spacing out. I mean, there probably is some grief there because he did know her, but why would you be unsettled at the mention of something that you had nothing to do with? Questions that need answers. It's just like there's no reason to be uncomfortable surrounding a conversation if you had no part in the events of that conversation. I tell kids that all day long, like, If you wasn't in it, don't be in it. If you have a problem with something that's being said, but you wasn't a part of that conversation, you go tell an adult. But you don't need to take part in a conversation that you didn't have a piece in. Mind your business. So clearly, Kumale has some part, not sure what the part is or whether it's an adjacent part, but he has some part in whatever's going on with his mama, or he has some need or want or had a hand in, searching for this map. But the one thing that I don't like is that as much as Malik doesn't trust people, he seems to be way too comfortable with Kumale.
You know what? I'm a interject here because I think this conversation with Kamala happened just shortly after him opening up to Alexis about something, and then him feeling relieved and not shut down by that made him rethink, oh, maybe I can also open up to my mentor. So, and I'm not sure if this was like after they didn't, did some things, but maybe he was like for a second and then just looking at the world through rose colored glasses. So yeah, maybe he let his guard down for that reason, but that is what fueled his, all right, let me open up. It can't be that bad.
Yes, but it's different with Alexis because Alexis is a childhood friend. He knows Alexis's morals at this point. He has a connection with Alexis that he doesn't have with Kumale. And for you to jump from this person that you know, who's not likely to just go mouthing off your secrets to everybody, especially when you got her using Bane magic over her head, to go and to tell this professor that you just met 2 months ago, you don't know nothing about, don't know from a can of paint, can't throw him no further than a grain of salt. Like, you don't know this man. You don't know nothing about this man. You don't know this man's history. You don't know him.
Agreed. Agreed.
And you sharing too much valuable information. I feel like that same energy you had the first time you went and sat down with all of Alexis's friends at lunch and you had that vision in class and decided not to share it. Keep that same energy when it comes to stuff about you, your mama, and the visions that you've been having. Don't nobody need to know except the people who you know you absolutely can trust. Aside from seeing this man in class and him being your quote unquote mentor, you have absolutely no reason to trust this man. You know nothing about him.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You just said something that got me thinking. When he was in class and he had everybody see the Haitian Revolution vision and Malik magically saw the other vision, I'm wondering, did Kumale have something to do with that?
Yes, I'm pretty sure he did. He's the one that instructed the whole vision to begin with. And how ironic is it that everybody else was somewhere else getting a different version of this thing, and Malik was the only one that saw what he saw. I'm saying.
Now, when we
That.
first discussed it in week 1, I assumed that was because Malik had this ability to see stuff the same way we were seeing on the porch with Mama Aya. But what if Kumale has exerted some sort of control over his mind in the way that he had to for the rest of the class, but specifically honed in on Malik to see that Bokor child sacrifice thingy happen at the same time? Yeah,
Glenna.
Lena, chime in, girl.
The only reason I will say no to that theory, and my reasoning is that every single one of the visions that he's had have been instructive to him in some capacity. So I think that when the rest of the class went through what they went through, I'm wondering if the kind of the sort of guided memory that they were all going through, he was seeing something that occurred at the same time as whatever the guided memory is. He just shifted into something else because that is what he needed to see for his own growth. Because he's already used the information in that vision at least 2 or 3 times and hasn't been contradicted by its validity from either Mama Aya or the Chancellor when he sort of discussed parts of it, even though not directly. So while I think there's a lot of things that are sus about Kamale, I don't think that vision was necessarily directed by him, because while I will admit he's a professor, it would be rather difficult to cast only one spell and have it affect everybody differently, or only single out one person. I think Malik's inclination towards, for lack of a better term, dream walking, guided him on that path.
That's possible. I just find it really, really odd. And I somewhat agree with you on that, only because, like you said, what he needed to see may have been what he saw. But how ironic is it when when he is just getting into meeting these people and they're openly talking about their experiences and everything, in terms of, because they've been on these type of journeys before. He had not. And yes, he doesn't trust anybody right now. But even in his question mode, what he was, I think for me, is what he was not able or was not comfortable in sharing, because he had the impression when they were talking about it, he saw something different. And I think that's what got me is because it mentioned how when he looked up, everybody else was gone. They weren't near him anymore. And he was alone. And yes, it could be because that was something he needed to see, but it could also be that they saw a different perspective for whatever reason. But I found it ironic that with this particular instance, that's not something that was shared in the group in terms of, hey, what did you think about that? Because they were generally talking about common things, and that's the only common thing he could interject on at that point, and that never came up. So you could be right, Glenna, and I could just be overthinking it, but I really feel, after reading how sus the professor is, I think that wasn't, it may have been for his own benefit, but it may have been intentional as well. That's what I was thinking. And yeah,
I hope we find out in these last little chapters. I hope we don't have to wait till the next book to get to the bottom of that. I really do. Yeah. Any other responses, questions?
Not on this.
No. All right. Mother, what will your second question of the evening be?
Well, we got truth and trust, and what we had?
We have the Dale tribe and truth and trust.
Yeah, I'll do truth and trust.
Not that anybody asks, but I yield.
So sorry.
I thought you yelled when you.
My bad.
No, she interjected and kind of just took it from there.
My bad, dog. I did say, did anybody have any concerns? That was the circle back moment. No. Okay. My fault, dog. My fault. All right. You can trust. Antoine Bivens claims to want to help Malik, but Terrence silences him. Who do you think Malik should trust more? Antoine, Terrence, or neither?
Neither and both. And I say that with caution because they both have some form of knowledge of his mom, but he also doesn't know enough about either one to trust that what they are sharing is genuine and not fabricated. And when I say fabricated, meaning that, you know how when some people tell stories, they add on their own inflection and things to make themselves or the situation sound more grand than it is or more devastating than it is. He don't know these people well enough to know, are they over exaggerating a situation if what they're telling him or not. He has a little bit of understanding that they can share what they know about my mom, but he is still at a moment of, I don't trust y'all. So I have to decipher how much of that is true. And the only thing he has to go on right now are the visions and what he's getting from Mama Aya. Cause let's be honest, he experienced a whole lot just within that battle of the Bokors himself. So when it comes to Mama Aya, he pretty much like, oh, she's solid. Whatever she say, I'm down with, because I have fought this battle with her and I understand. I've seen in the vision. I understand because I've been through it live. So if it come from Mama Aya, he pretty much is like, whatever Mama Aya say, I'm trusting. But everybody else is still suspect, and he should be, because you don't know if they're out to gain or if they're, doing it to spite him or trying to get back. You don't know what their true motive is, and until he understands what the true motive is, he has right to suspect. Folks, it's unfortunate when you're in a situation where you need to be vulnerable to get the answers you want, but also you have to be guarded to make sure you're not being manipulated, and that's where he is. So, yep, neither and both right at the same time. Confusing, but true. Forgive me because the caffeine has kicked in, so I'm willing to speak on everything right now. Yeah. And with that, I yield.
Good stuff, Mom. And power to the caffeine for
Blessed it, blessed it.
any questions or responses, ladies, before we get into the last question of the evening. No? Okay. All right. Our last question, the Deo tribe. The Deo tribe presents proof of the Bokor's killings, but the Khoisan leadership downplays it. What does this say about how communities handle danger when acknowledging it may threaten their power? Oh, child. Yeah. Ooh. So first of all, we stand the Deo tribe. At least I do anyway, because I mean they came with the receipts. Like, and groups like the Deo tribe force everybody to face reality with hard evidence. The Bokors is back, people dying. But instead of rallying everybody to act, of course, the Khoisan minimizes it. And why do they do that? Because acknowledging that danger could expose their failures. I feel like I see this a lot in the corporate world. Like there's a very big to do about exposing failure and having perception of weakened authority or destabilizing this carefully maintained image of control that has been built, right? I feel like I see a lot of that in the Khoisan tribe as well. So in real world terms, I feel like this mirrors how institutions sometimes respond to crises. They deny or downplay when the truth can cause panic. Very similarly to what we read in Elite, where they were keeping so many things secret from the citizens because there's the threat of, pandemonium in the city. Like, and institutions, of course, they want to control the narrative to keep people from questioning their leadership. They want to protect their image over the people. I mean, as I'm sitting here thinking about the world we live in today, I can't help but wonder, like, is denial ever a legitimate form of protection? Because we've not seen it work in Harry Potter with Cornelius Fudge. Voldy was back. Denying it didn't help nobody. I mean, is it an ultimate betrayal that leaves vulnerable communities unprepared? Okay, so like let's go a little bit further here. Let's take fictional stuff off the table for a second. And let's think about them people who were truth tellers and blowing the whistle on stuff in history, right? Civil rights activists in the 60s exposing the racial violence. But the government and media wanted to downplay it. Specifically, Mamie Till's mama, basically saying, nah, y'all gonna see what they did to my son, and allowing his photograph in his casket to be publicized. Environmental activists raising evidence, facts about climate change, while political leaders dismiss it or minimize how big that threat actually is. The Deo tribe put evidence and pressure on the Khoisans. Like, they like, look, we got it. Y'all might say it ain't a problem, but here's video of 4 bodies. And truth tellers, like we've seen in history, often threaten the comfort of those in power with those kinds of receipts. Trying to think, is there anything else before I yield? I mean, there really is nothing new under the sun. We've heard similar truth tellers try to warn us about like the AIDS crisis in the 80s, and a lot of them were ignored until the epidemic couldn't be denied. We even saw some of that in COVID. We saw indigenous communities warning us about land and water exploitation while corporations and government dismiss them. Like, there's really nothing new under the sun. And the Deo tribe represents everybody who forces uncomfortable truths into the open. And with that, I yield. How did Cam leave the call and have come back? Hold on. Where'd she go? Lord.
She's trying to get back in. She just texted the.
There she is. Okay. So, yeah. I yield. Mother, Glenna, Cam, with whatever you did here before you dropped off, any responses, questions?
You hit it on the head. Unfortunately, history is repeating itself, and the changes have not taken place where those in power are being made to feel extremely uncomfortable by the whistleblowers. And thank goodness for the whistleblowers to at least give those of us who don't have the foresight to understand what's going on without it being pointed out, that gives you an opportunity to try to probe or research or identify a strategy of survival or next steps for us individually, or what that would look like for us, because some of us are so far removed from what's going on in the bigger spectrum that we won't see it until it's right up on us. And so thank goodness there are folks out there for blowing whistles and taking those risks, because let's be real, the whistleblowers are the ones taking the greatest risk, because generally that's who the government or those in power go after. And that's and the one thing I like about this genre and some others is that it pulls from real world experiences, so you can see it, you can relate, because it actually happens in our current life at some point. So it makes the story that much more valuable and allow you to connect even deeper, on a deeper level. So very good analogy on that one, Angel.
Thank you, Mom. I would agree and further say that this portion, or at least this question, reminds me of a class I took in high school called Contemporary Issues. Basically, The whole premise of that class was to get us as students to be able to discern between different forms of media that were biased and how to take the meat and spit out the bones, right? I myself would not identify as a whistleblower per se, but more as a truth seeker. And that's just for my own personal benefit. Like, I just want to know what's really happening here, because we hear a lot of what's being thrown at us or what's said, but I'm really interested in what's not being said. So I like that there is a Deo tribe in this story to highlight that. I like that. I mean, I don't like that there is an elitist portion anyway, but I mean, art imitates life, right? But I specifically don't like that we have to have these conversations because it's imitating our current life right now today. It further makes me want to dig into those rabbit holes of, who benefits from this narrative, who's who's upholding this and for what reason, when it seems to not align with your personal goals or belief system. What will motivate you then to uphold it? That's just, but that said, that actually makes me want to know from y'all, like, have you ever in your personal life, school, work, whatever, have you ever felt like you were the whistleblower or the truth seeker, and have you been ostracized for it in any way? Damn. Do tell.
Oh, I was blowing all every single one of the whistles at 1200 East Broadway, Columbia, Missouri, at Stevens College. Because who they wasn't going to play with was me. I don't like when things affect my grades. I don't like when people talk to me crazy because I'm the minority in the room. It's not right. It's not okay. And I'm one to go above everybody's head and go to the head honcho. So that's what I did. I was being racially targeted in a class that was supposed to be all about diversity and inclusion. It was a Tuesday, Thursday class. The first day we would all meet together as a freshman class. The second day we would break off into small groups. I was the only person of color in my small group. And the teacher, Lord, I can't stand that man, made it a point to say things that were either outright racist or full on microaggression. And he would look at me when he said them for a reaction. It got so bad that after class would end, my classmates would stay after to ask me if I was okay. And after a good maybe 6 or 7 months, because I had his class for 5 months, a couple months after I was done with his class, we got our officer for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, prior to getting her, I went to everybody's boss. I went to the president of the school, told her my experience. It's like, hey, this is what happened. This is the problem that I have with this. And I don't want any African American woman, because this is an all girls school, to come into this class behind me and leave feeling the way that I felt. And she said, oh, I don't like that. I said, yeah, me neither. That's why I'm here. So when we got our officer for diversity, equity, and inclusion, I immediately went to see her. I laid down everything from the beginning of the year, because this is me as a freshman. So this is one of the very first classes I had on this campus. I laid down everything from August to December. And she said, this is extreme detail. And unfortunately, you are not the first person to come to me about this class. I was the third or fourth person to come to her about this class. However, I was the only minority. I found out 2 people from my class went to her before I got to her because they were offended for me. And she said, well, now that I have all the details, I'm going to go sit in on this class. She sat in that class every period that it was had for 3 weeks. She called me back into her office, and I found out that with the section leader that I had, she was so disturbed that she motioned for that class to get canceled. So the semester after she got there, because of the details that I gave, that class was stripped from the roster and it is no longer offered at that school.
I really hate that you had that experience. I had no idea. Um, I, but the one takeaway that I want to highlight here is that you really never know who is on your side behind closed doors. I'm so glad that those other students said something before you were able to. I'm glad that action was swift and just, but I still hate that you had to experience that. I feel like us as women in the workforce, I feel like we've all had experiences with poor leadership in that way. Um, and it's unfortunate. It really is.
And then I had him more after that. And they couldn't initially fire him because he was tenured. I don't know if he's still there now, but for the 2 classes after that I had him, I was constantly picked on. And everybody who was in that class with me saw that. So I actively avoided that man at all costs the entire time I was there.
I just find it hard to understand why they would have a male teacher for a diversity, equity, and inclusion class in an all-girl school. That's the first problem, number one. That's so far beyond the, because
It was because of his specialty. So the way that the class was run was that each week we learned a different subject matter from a specialist in that subject.
okay,
And then when the day we broke off in the small group, we would discuss how that correlated to events of today and how things have changed from, a historical thing, how things have changed from then in relation to where we are now. So it was because of his specialty. His specialty was art. So just as an example, some of the things that we did, we had genetics, we had art, we had health science as a whole. So just the generalist perspective, we had the week that really made me sick was we had a week where we learned about the protests in Ferguson. The problem I had with that was there was no trigger warning given. So I showed up to class one day having to watch detailed videos of a life that I have already experienced and was currently in counseling to move past. And that was really hard to see. And it was a movie and I couldn't leave, but I had to turn around after class and I was in tears having a panic attack and was like, I can't do this for another day. I can't be here on Thursday. Give me the work and call it what it is. I can't, I'm not doing this. And that lady, unfortunately, was the one I had the biggest problem with because her week was teaching us about the Black experience. And she was not Black.
I was just gonna ask that question. Was she any part of Black? Was she any form of minority?
She was a woman. That is all.
That is it. That's all. Okay.
And I did not appreciate the fact that we had at least one African American professor on campus. He was a dance professor, but still, he was Black. And they had a white woman teaching a group of majority Black kids, like 90% Black kids, about the Black experience. The class was all wrong. Lena, your face was my face. The class was all wrong from jump. It was
I'm just
all
gonna
wrong. But
say,
I knew we started off on the wrong foot because, generally on the first day of class, you come in with introduction and, everybody say who you are, where you from, all this stuff. Said I was from St. Louis. He said, oh, what part of St. Louis? I said, Normandy, I grew up in Ferguson, and, regular stuff. He said, oh, so you were near the Mike Brown thing. Yeah, how was that?
Yeah, I had a similar interaction at work. Yeah. People
And
really are
like,
well.
and I was like, you can't make this stuff up.
You can't.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, he got reported expeditiously.
So as we looked, Glenda, I'm so sorry. The shock on your face is just. But no, like it's real, unfortunately.
because you are turning red, my darling. By all means, whatever it is bothered you to the point of color change. So I know yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's just wow. That's all I've got is wow.
Because what else can you say? Like, well, ladies, that said,
There are no words. But with that said, since we're speaking about minorities, happy Hispanic American Awareness Month to you and anyone who is watching that has any ounce of Hispanic heritage in you. Bless you, people. This is your month to be recognized. Happy for all of y'all.
Because we Puerto Ricans. 1/4.
We Puerto Ricans. Well, I'm half Rican. I'm half. They quarters.
Puerto Rican in this house. Yes.
Puerto Rican in the house.
Now, so closing out this week, any predictions or conclusions or lingering questions anybody wants to share before I give my closing remarks?
Baby, the Pecors is coming back. I see a battle coming. Maya did tap them before. I feel like I'm looking for another tapping, but I feel like I'm hoping with the next tapping, and I'm just saying they're gonna have another situation. I'm hoping that Malik somehow takes lead. Oh, there was another thing. Angel, you mentioned something earlier about main characters that we come to grow and love not being there toward the end. I don't think my mama gonna make it out of this book. Her existence is, and I say that because of all them hints they was dropping. I feel like with all these hints they was dropping, and I feel like one of the reasons she was probably looking so hard for him is that she probably tired. The woman is over 200 years old. And she probably tired and want to lay down. But she can't lay down until she passed her powers. Because, she got her mama and her grandmama's powers. And she can't rest until those powers are bequeathed to somebody. And she can't give them to her daughter because she know her daughter done something wrong. And we don't know where her daughter is, but that's one of the reasons she can't give him to the daughter. We don't know where she at. We don't know if she's dead, alive, but she says she ain't dead. She knows she ain't dead.
She did make mention how she cannot trust her daughter.
She can't trust her daughter. So I feel like she can't rest until she bequeath these powers, and she can't give them to her daughter, and he's the only other person in her bloodline at this point. So I feel like part of the reason for her to be so strong in trying to locate him was so that she could rest and that she could lay down. And she has to do that in the presence of giving him her powers. I don't know how that's gonna look or how it's gonna happen, but that was my prediction in terms of Mama Aya. Because when you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, that's my thought process.
No, I really hope she makes it to the second book.
I
I
don't
really
know.
hope she have a big mama your arm moment. Like I don't want that for her.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and like I said, I really do believe his mama is partnering with the Bacors, or so. I think she's connect. I think her all of that stuff with the magic, the dark magic. I think the Bane magic. I think she has. When she disappeared, it was either because I think it had something to do with her being connected to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if the group that she was with sent. I don't know how they could send her, but somehow I feel like she is connected to the Bocors. That's my thought. I feel like in this next section we're gonna find out how, because everybody talking about this Bane magic, and we know it's this bad magic and all of this other stuff. And I don't know, maybe she was one of the people that was doing stuff, and with her connection with the Bane magic, kind of like what's that girl was torturing them people in death. Yeah, when Alexis was torturing them guys that killed that girl. No, it wasn't said, but maybe she, like the Bocors, got an energy surge out of that.
Oh, question.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I'm sorry, Cam. I see you got a hand raised. Go ahead.
I was agreeing with
Oh.
Mom because I feel like part of the reason Mama Aya pushed Malik so hard to go to KMU is so that he could be trained to receive her powers when she goes. To, to receive and use them when she's no longer able to. So, as much as I don't want to see her go, it makes sense to me that she would, and if she were to, that to me explains why it's been such a push for Malik to go to school and get educated and be trained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree to that. It's really unfortunate that she can't pass none of that to her daughter. And you know what? That makes me wonder, do y'all think the Bacors have somehow harmed his mom? Or do you think his mom is being held back from Malik by something else? Like she's so evil and so bad now that somebody somewhere, maybe even Mama Aya, has put like a protection spell to keep her from getting to him? Or do you think the Bacors in their evilness or their use of Bane magic are harming her in some way and keeping her from getting back to him? Like, I don't know. I feel like it could be either or.
I was thinking that same thing. I just couldn't put together. Like I said, I think somehow she has a connection to the Bacors, but with that scenario of them in her bedroom, I can't envision how, unless somewhere in whatever they were doing, because I feel like whatever she was going through, she was being punished. That's why she was screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about Mama screaming when he was young. So I think that whatever she was doing, whatever the five of them were doing, it was some type of punishment. So unless the Bocor snatched her away in the process, and that's why she disappeared.
Right. Like, it's giving me, y'all remember X-Men when Phoenix had like really become the Phoenix? Like, she was still herself, but not really herself no more. Like, her whole mind was different. Her eyes was black. It was just a whole unleashing of power.
Yeah.
Like, something similar might have happened with Malik's mom.
Yeah.
And the only thing keeping them from killing her is because she still somewhat got her right mind, but she's so far gone that they can't let her out. You know what I mean?
That's possible, like you saying, some type of she's held captive, like somewhere.
Yeah, but I don't
within
know
her powers.
who's keeping her captive though. Is the Bakor saying, "Nah, you too evil for us," or is Mama Aya them be like, "Nah, bro, you can't come over this side with all that." Glenna,
I think it's simpler than that. I think if we take the coincidences of the chancellor's son being killed, and if the similar situation was going to occur with Malik and she was protecting him, she was going against them to protect him. He got away, but she was taken, and she's basically, if she's being held and is actually alive, she's being held because she got in the way to keep her out of the way, I think is where she's at. I don't necessarily think she went bad. I think she was probably honestly trying to protect her son's life, because I think they may have been after his power. And I think that whatever happened to her is, whether she was killed eventually or if she's still alive, she's being kept in detainment because she would get in the way to try to protect her son again.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I am not a mother, but I would imagine that if I were, I would be doing any and everything to get back to my son as well. So, good points. Good points. Any other predictions, theories, lingering questions? I got a lingering question. I'm really curious what the real underlying reason is for Danye's beef with Malik. And I hope we find that out before.
I think we're going to find out. I think we're going to find out, because up until this point, nobody knows. We know what Alexis' issue is. We know what the professor issue is. We know what the chancellor's issue is, but we don't know Danye's. So I think his is going to come out in this last part of this book.
I really hope so. I really hope so. Because I'm tired of him. Like, let's get it all out on the table. Why don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, ladies. It is time. It is time for closing remarks. So, these chapters, 22 through 31, Malik faced some hard truths about power, denial, and legacy. The divisions within the magical community show us how fear of losing control can outweigh protecting the vulnerable. Malik's return home to Alabama deepens his connection to heritage while also pushing him to choose courage over silence. And with that, we will see y'all for the last and final week of this book on Family Fight. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Are we doing the wheel today? Are we doing the wheel?
We should be.
You never remember me.
Didn't I just say, are we? Do you will?
How everybody remembered but you.
Do you will, ma'am?
Sad.
I remember just now.
That's not how that works, man.
Okay, well, it's at this point in the story that we go to Cam's magical wheel of reading, where we figure out what we read next month. So, Cam, take it away.
Give me a second.
We endeavor as a group to keep each other on track.
You are correct, ma'am. And I appreciate y'all for that.
A second, because my laptop is being a jerk. It's not charging. I need a new charger. Anyway.
Give me a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Mom.
Yes.
Did you want to add your choices back on here?
What do I have on there now?
Nothing.
You took all my stuff off?
Yeah.
Okay. Then in that case, I want. What was it? I want the third book of Hunter. I want the blood, the second the blood, and the third book of the Fury.
The second of the blood.
The one we're reading now.
Oh, what's the title?
Bones at the Crossroad.
Okay.
Those are my three. I'm like, finished the series already.
Okay, and then I get one more option. Oh no, I don't. Angel gets one more option.
Yes.
And did you notice there is nothing you didn't update your listing to put Glenna's stuff on there?
Glenna's stuff is on here. It's been
Oh,
on
and I must
the
not have the
packet.
latest version.
He just has.
No, not on the wheel, on the actual
Oh
roster.
yeah, because if I add another list thing on there, it's just the form's gonna misshape and it's gonna be weird. So
Oh, okay.
that's why I'm like, we got video logs, so it's fine.
That's
Okay.
fine.
I got her ratings on there though.
I'm back, y'all.
Let me see the ratings.
Angel, you get one more choice.
Oh, which one do I have on there already?
You have the Muse and Curvy Girl Summer.
Okay. Hmm. Hold on, I'm pulling up the list.
Okay, I'm gonna try to flip back to.
Oh no. Has anyone picked the second part of this one?
Your
Yeah,
mom did.
Okay.
you already know.
Hopping back over.
Has anyone picked this one?
Yes.
Yeah, you already know.
So we all want to read the same things. All right, hold on. I can't find the list. What's it called?
Lord, what is it called? Hold on. Hold on.
Oh, found it. Film Pop Book Club rotation list. Got it.
If you want to use one of those, I'll happily put another book up.
No, I'm good. I got the Muse and Curvy Girl Summer.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, the rest of my books on this list are not fantasy at all.
They don't
Okay.
have to be.
It had to be.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's do Red Lip Theology.
Oh, sorry. I was a little loud.
Mom, why that laugh? Why do
Because it's for church girls who consider tithing to be beauty supply store.
it
Okay.
sounds like very, very something I would read?
Mm-hmm. It does.
That's why it's freaking hilarious.
Okay, everybody can see, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so our book for September is going to be, because most of our choices haven't changed, and I don't feel the need to read them off every single month. Our October book, because it's September now. Our October book is going to be
Oh my God.
okay, I've read this already. So Y'all have a great time. But I'll just be here for the discussion. Woo. Woo.
I don't know if I'm ready, y'all.
Hey, you're one for answers. And you get all the answers.
You're right. I was calling for answers. You are correct. So it is the third part of the 3-part series, Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, and finally Kingdom of the Fear. Girl, if I can get this shit out the box. Oh,
Look
sheesh.
at it like
That's the
this.
thing. Everybody bought the series.
Damn. Woo to
And
woo. Kingdom of the Fear.
woo woo. Now consider you
have
said it took a lot out of you. However, once we read it, all of it'll be out. You won't have to worry about it no more.
You're right. You're right. I will try to get excited about returning to the world of Amelia and Raz. That's all I'm
ready. Baby, I'm ready.
I just look.
Get ready, get ready, get ready.
Just be grateful that we're stopping here because she wrote 3 more books to follow these. Or she's currently working on the 3rd one, but the other 2 are out. I read the first one.
Y'all pray my strength in the Lord.
We gonna pray.
I can't wait to see these discussions.
See, y'all started me on this. If y'all had never put this in the who was that? Who about the Kingdom of the Spirit? See, I mean, you did that? See, had you not put that in there? Cause you know me, I hate to don't do one book in a trilogy or a duo or don't do that. Don't do that.
I would like to say that, with the exception of Blood at the Root, all of mine have been standalones.
I read a lot of theories. I don't know what you want.
I'm just saying, don't do that and then not expect me to get excited because I want to know what happens next.
Okay, well then you can just read on your own. I read Freed on my own. That's why I said I'm excited for these discussions.
I did. I already started. So I'm excited. How many chapters we do in a week?
I don't know, girl. I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not excited about it. Amelia wore me out in the 2nd book. I'm like, girl.
Well, girl, lace up your bootstraps because girl ain't stopped.
I'm gonna go at based on Cam's facial expression, it's gonna get worse.
Look at her face. See? Pull up them bootstraps.
To be fair, though, it's not all Amelia. It's mostly the people around Amelia. So have a good time.
Pull your bootstraps up. That's all I gotta say. We can.
I will say that all of the questions that were asked and had do get answered.
Okay.
So you finna
so
get
take
answers?
solace in the fact that we get answers.
Okay. I will hold on to that beacon of light as I dive back into this series and draft questions and summarize and do all.
The last one, like,
and it's going to finish. It's going to answer the questions, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, thank God we answered that question.
I promise here on live and in person to not add the first book of the 2nd trilogy in there.
Thanks, here. Appreciate you.
Even though she don't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And it's nothing against this author. I just find that this character is insufferable.
That's why I said that character ain't got nothing to do with none of the rest of it.
Okay, great.
So I'm excited. Okay,
Yay. All right.
So that means
any final remarks before we dismiss?
I just need you to stop forgetting me. I have 10 minutes once a month.
My bad, dog. My bad. It was totally not intentional. I'm bleeding profusely.
Okay.
That's something to share with the people.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, with that being said, I hope y'all have a great rest of your week on purpose.
All right. Good night, people.
Good night. See y'all next week.
Bye.
The family plot. Bye. It's the family plot. Come and see what we got. If you love mystery and fantasy, then this is the spot. It's the family plot. Come and see what we got. Follow on Instagram and YouTube and even TikTok. And